All right, Rabbi, say good morning, or good tavach. Baruch Hashem, an incredible schos to be able to begin another week of learning with everyone. Begin by thanking our sponsors for this morning's shir. To thank our TALMUD Torah sponsor for the month of Nisan, Saeed Sima Haken, for dedicating all of his Shur and Drushos this month to express their Hakarat Hatov to Hashem for all of his Nisim and Niflaot. May Hakadosh Baruch Hu redeem all of the hostages and bring complete Hatzlacha to Eretz Yisrael and to Am Yisrael. Our week of learning sponsors, Paul and Kathy Pollack, in memory of Paul's father, Shmuel ben Zechariah, and great-grandmother, Tziril Bas Dov, whose yahrzeits are both on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And of course, I will say, we dedicate our learning the Ilui Nishmas Binyamin Achimeir, who was the young boy, the 14-year-old boy who was murdered on Erev Shabbos. Overwhelming circumstances. And at the same time, it behooves us to express our profound Hakarat Hatov to the Ribono Shel Olam. I would say, when you look at the unprecedented attack by Iran, 99% of the projectiles launched were shot down. It's a Nes Nigla. It's no less than Chanukah, and it's no less than Purim, and it's no less than Kriyas Yamsuf. Really, if you just think about the enormity of what could have been, and the enormity of what the intentions were, 99% of hundreds, missiles, drones, downed. Obviously, Baruch Hashem, we have incredible Hakarat Hatov to the IDF, to our precious soldiers, to our precious pilots. But of course, we know nothing happens in this world without Hashgachas Hashem. And the Ribono Shel Olam once again showed his incredible Hashgach, and his incredible providence, and his incredible just love for Am Yisrael, for Klal Yisrael, for Eretz Yisrael, and absolutely overwhelming to see a Nes Nigla like this in Chodesh Nisan. Hallelujah, we should be Zochem Yirtz Hashem, that we should continue to feel like Hakadosh Baruch Hu's safety and security. We should continue to experience His Hashgacha, and in Yirtz Hashem we should be Zocha to not only see defensive Nisim and Niflaot, we should be Zochem Yirtz Hashem to see offensive Nisim and Niflaot as well. As our people, as our country fights enemies on all fronts, we should be Zochem Yirtz Hashem to Yeshua's Hashem keheref ayin. Hakadosh Baruch Hu should bring home all of our hostages. Hakadosh Baruch Hu should give all of our soldiers incredible siyata d'shmaya, and we should be Zochem Yirtz Hashem to the Geula Shlema va'asida b'mhira b'yameinu. Amen. I will say with that, let us begin. We have a lot to do today, a really, really incredible daf. I want to also reset a little bit. I'm hearing some groaning about Perak Hazav, right? Okay, I want to put this out there. I'm hearing a little kvetching, a little groaning, a little... So again, I have two things to say, right? Number one, man up. Right? Number one, man up. Okay, come on, stop it. Right? You're going to be just fine. We have every single tool at our disposal, right? We have a shir, we have art scroll, we have this, we have that. So come on, stop it. Remember, once upon a time, people learned these sugyas without any of the supplemental aids that we have. So that's Aleph. Number two, I will say, Torah is sweet. Torah is beautiful. And the harder it is, the greater the sweetness is when you chap it. And if you work hard enough, there is no piece of Torah that you cannot make your own. If you're willing to put in the effort, again, if I just want to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show and have it come to me, so it's possible that there are things you're not going to get. But I will say, if together, because we're in this together, if together we kind of bend our shoulder, open our hearts, and open our minds, and in Eretz Hashem, there is nothing we cannot conquer. And remember, I guess number three, Lefum Tzara Agra. Again, literally, the greater the difficulty, the more the reward. The easier the Gemara, the less the schar. The harder the Gemara, ultimately, again, the greater the reward. So we'll say, let's bend our shoulder, open our hearts, open our minds, and Eretz Hashem, conquer together another daf of Hazov. So today's daf is Membav 46. We are picking up in Eretz Hashem on Memhem and Beis, and we are picking up 5 lines up from the bottom, Amarav Papa. So we'll say, so just to reorient ourselves a little bit, in yesterday's daf, and Rabbi Richter did a beautiful job in yesterday's daf. So in yesterday's daf, we were learning about the concept of whether or not a matbeya, a coin, could be used as the vehicle for chalipin. So remember again, Rabbi Richter mentioned this in the shir, but this is incredible. This is in Yoni Diyoma, because remember again, kinyan chalipin or kinyan sudar is the kinyan that is used in the course of mechiras chametz. right? The Meretz Hashem. So again, you go, whoever, the truth is, this is universally done. This is why, by the way, I'll just point out, as much as we have like an online option for Mechiras Chametz, one of the reasons why it is not preferable, I should say differently, let's be positive. One of the reasons why it is preferable to do Mechiras Chametz in person as opposed to online is because it works. Online, if you do it, it works, but you don't have the ability to avail yourself of the kinyanim, right? The physical kinyanim that are part of Mechiras Chametz, which bolster the sale. That's why, again, it's not, of course, I love to see everyone, that's fantastic, right? But Lamaisa, that's the reason why in person is preferable to online. Online it works because it's the Shtar Harsha, it's a power of attorney. But if you could go ahead and be face to face and do the kinyanim, so the kinyan that we do is a kinyan sudar. So what happens? You sit down, you bring your sheet, your power of attorney sheet, you go out and you sell me your chametz. Now, of course, now sell me your chametz, what are you doing? Appointing me as the agent to sell the chametz on your behalf. How do I have the right to sell your chametz on your behalf? So the power of attorney form is one way. The other piece is a kinyan sudar. I give you my pen, you pick up my pen. By picking up my pen, I'm acquiring the rights over your chametz, or acquiring your chametz. It's a kinyan sudar. It's a kinyan chalipin, a flip act of acquisition. You acquire something of mine, and in exchange, I acquire something of yours. So remember, again, I will say, so we started off this perek by hazov kona es hakasef. So when you acquire merchandise, the other party acquires the money. So in yesterday's daf, we were focusing on can a coin itself be the vehicle of kinyan sudar? So again, that piece is still a little bit open. Although again, it appears really that, well, we'll see. We'll see the Rambam Meretz Hashem in tomorrow's daf when we bring all of this together. Today's daf is going to focus on a little bit of a variation of that question. So Rabbi Bava says like this: even if you hold that in general, a coin can't be the vehicle of chalipah. So just understand what that means. So imagine for a moment, you come today to sell your chametz, and instead of giving you a pen, I give you a gold coin. I say, here, pick this up, acquire this, and when you do this, I'll acquire your chametz, right? I'll be out of a gold coin. I'll be out of a gold coin very quickly, right? So you're like, I'll keep my chametz for the gold coin, right? So that's what it means. That's what it means, whether or not matbeya nase chalipin. I will say, so now, Rabbi says like this, even according to the opinion that says that you can't use a coin to go as a vehicle to affect kinyan chalipin, listen to this, me'avad hu de lo avad chalipin, aknuye mikne bechalipin. So Rabbi says like this, even according to the opinion that says that a coin cannot be used as the actual vehicle for chalipin, but again, Rabbi says, but a coin could be acquired through chalipin. Okay? So Rabbi says, Midi dehavi aper Rav Nachman, because it should be no different than peros. Rav Nachman says that you could acquire peros. Literally, again, merchandise or actual fruits through a kinyan chalipin. So Rabbi says, so again, a coin should be no different. So Rabbi says, here now we're switching. Even if you hold that a coin cannot be the actual vehicle, can't be the pen, can't be the item that affects chalipin, but again, Rav Papa says you should be able to acquire coins through chalipin. So just to illustrate how that would work, right? You have coins, right? And I want to acquire your coins from you. So what happens? I give you my pen, you lift up my pen, and by lifting up my pen, I acquire your coins. That's what Rav Papa is suggesting. Even if you hold that a matbeya can't be used as the vehicle, you should be able to use a kinyan chalipin to acquire coins. Why? Because it should be no less than produce, and Rav Nachman holds that you could acquire produce through chalipin. Peiral Rav Nachman, la'avav agav de'inu lo'avdi chalipin, aknuye miknu bechalipin. Tevanami loshna. Shabbos say, we're going to see, by the way, I just want to tell you also, coming attractions tomorrow, pivotal daf. I mean, every daf is pivotal daf, but tomorrow, a lot of these things that are being brought up tangentially, Mem Zayin is going to be the place where all of it lands, and we're going to see a lot of things are going to click into place tomorrow at Meretz Hashem. So, again, so therefore, this is Rav Papa's suggestion. Rav Papa says, Rav Nachman shows up on Mem Zayin, Rav Nachman holds that, for example, you can't use produce as a vehicle of chalipin, but you could acquire produce with kinyan chalipin. So too, even if you hold that a coin can't be used as the vehicle. It can't be the pen. Can't be used as the vehicle for chalipin. So ultimately, again, but yeah, a coin could also be acquired through chalipin. Should be no different than produce. Okay, so we'll say this is the position of Rav Papa. Good, that's it. So the Gemara says as follows. So Meisvei, the Gemara says, I'm going to ask a kasha on this. Haya omid begoren ve'in biyado maos. So let's listen to this. I'm standing in my granary, and I don't have any money on me. So I'll say a little bit of context over here. I'm standing in my granary with my Meiser Sheni. And I will say, remember, Meiser Sheni, as you spoke about in yesterday's daf, can be redeemed with money. Right? You transfer the Meiser Sheni sanctity onto money, and ultimately take that money to Yerushalayim and use it for produce. So we'll say, so now what happens? There's an interesting little detail over here, which is, if you go ahead and you redeem your own Meiser Sheni, there's a surcharge. There's a surcharge. Take a look at Rashi. 4 lines are from the bottom. In the Yodomos, v'rotze lechala Meiser Sheni shelo, v'hirim b'pidyon lechala ayidei mekach u'memkar, shemochel le'ish achar kedei shelo yichayev chomesh. Tichsev in ga'o yigal ish mima'asro chamishiso yosef. So also listen to this. So if you redeem your own Meiser Sheni, there is a 1/5 surcharge. 1/5 surcharge. And here's what's interesting. If someone else redeems your Meiser Sheni, there's no surcharge. Now, there's nothing wrong. In other words, I can redeem your Meiser Sheni, you can redeem my Meiser Sheni just by doing a favor. So we'll say, so the case over here is, I'm standing in my granary, I don't have any money, but I would like to circumvent the 1/5 surcharge. So what do? I don't have any money in my possession. But I want to say, so what could I do? Omer lechavero, I say to my friend, by the way, Rashi points out over here, why does it say friend? You're going to say Bosa because this type of setup only works with someone who you trust. Watch this. Omer lechaveros. Hare peros halalun l'sunan l'chama matana. I say, Ruvain, I hereby convey this produce, this Meiser Sheni, happy birthday. It's yours. Now Bosa, it's already Meiser Sheni, right? I'm giving my Meiser Sheni to Ruvain. L'sunan l'chama matana. Rashi says, Umechivan shekinar zem matana nasa rishon nachri etzlam. Now we'll say, so watch what's happening over here. So now I'm giving over the produce. See, the case is I'm standing in my granary, I have my Meiser Sheni. I don't have any money on me. Now the reason it's saying I don't have any money on me, you'll see in just a moment. So what do? I say, Ruvain, here's the produce. Now we'll say, now what am I going to do? What's next? What am I going to do next? I'm going to redeem the Meiser Sheni, right? I'm going to redeem the Meiser Sheni money, the Meiser Sheni produce. And again, I'm going to use my money, but because it's not my Meiser Sheni, I've circumvented the 1/5. Now, the reason it says I don't have money is because if I had money, then I could just as easily do what? Give the money to Ruvain, have Ruvain go ahead and redeem the Meiser Sheni with the money, and it would have accomplished the same thing. But in this case, I have no money over here, so therefore I go ahead and I give him the produce. Both I tap of Memva, 46a. The Choser Omer, and then I go ahead and I say, Harehein mechulalin al mo'os sheyeshli babayis. Okay? And then I say, okay, this Meiser Sheni should hereby become deconsecrated onto money that I have in my house. So now remember, I will say, whose Meiser Sheni am I now redeeming? Whose am I redeeming? Ruvain's, my friends. And I say, Ruvain, I'm redeeming your Meiser Sheni on money that I have in my house. Okay, so let's analyze this. So Taima de'in biyado mos. So we'll say, so the whole reason this is happening is because I don't have money with me. Ha im yesh biyado mos, likni luhu li'idach b'meshicha ubarech dahachi adif dahavi le'nachri. So we'll say, so now, what can I infer from this? This is what I mentioned before. If I had the money, the preferable mechanism for this would have been to what? Give Ruvain the money. Ruvain say, right, Mazel Tov, here's a gift. And now with that money, Ruvain could go ahead and redeem my Meiser Sheni. And because someone other than the owner, because we'll say, understand what's happening over here? There's an additional step, right? I'm going ahead, giving over my Meiser Sheni to Ruvain, and now I'm using my money that is in a different location. I'm saying the Meiser Sheni should be deconsecrated onto money that I have on my dining room table. The reason is because I don't have the money on me. The easier thing would have been, if I had money with me, I would have given it to Ruvain. Ruvain would have then used that money to deconsecrate the Meiser Sheni, and Shalom Yisrael, thereby avoiding the 5th. Okay, fine. So the Gemara says, now 1 second. Rav Papa, if you are right, that even if money can't be used as a vehicle to affect chalipin, but money could be acquired through chalipin, if that's the case, niknu lein maos leheich agav sudar Velifrok. So Rabbi say, there's a much easier thing over here. Why don't I just do this? Ruvain, listen, I don't have any money on me right now, but the money's on my dining room table. Let's just do a king and chalipin, right? Ruvain, give me your pen. I'll lift up your pen or your handkerchief. And when I lift up your pen and handkerchief, you'll acquire my money, right? That's sitting on my dining room table. And now you could deconsecrate the Meiser Sheni on the money that you now own. So much easier. In other words, I will say, the Gemara is making it sound over here that I don't have any money, that's why I have to transfer over the produce, I have to give the produce over to Ruvain. But if money could be acquired through Chalipin, then just do a kinyan Chalipin with Ruvain. Ruvain could acquire my money, and then Ruvain could just deconsecrate the money on the Meiser Sheni. The fact that the Gemara does not go ahead and raise that as a possibility, but instead only raises the possibility of what? Of conveying over the produce to Ruvain tells us that what? Chalipin doesn't work for money. That's it. To which the Gemara says, no, the Leslie Sudar. No, the challenge over here is they would have done a king in Chalipin. What happens? Ruvain doesn't have a handkerchief. Alright, so the Gemara says, V'niknu neheli agav karka. So okay, you don't now both say, by the way, when it says it doesn't have a handkerchief, remember as both says tomorrow's daf, we're going to see Chalipin requires something. Whether or not it requires a kli, a utensil, so we're going to see. But the point the Gemara is making is over here, Ruvain doesn't have anything on him. So therefore, I'm going to say, if you don't have something, the kli, the pen, the something, you can't do a kinyan sudar. Okay. The Gemara says, "V'nikninu nehela agav karka." So why don't they just do this? Why don't they use a kinyan agav? Kinyan agav means that you could convey ownership of real property to someone, and you could acquire movable property by dint of the real property. So let me convey over to Reuven a little piece of real property, and by doing so, I could give him over the money as well. To which the Gemara says, the less like karka. I don't have any property. I don't have any karka. The Gemara says, what? V'ha omed begaron katani. That's begoron. Sorry, but that's not the case, right? The case over here is where the Gemara says, I'm standing in my granary. V'ha omed begoron. I'm standing in the granary. To which the Gemara says, no. Begoron she'eno shalo. It's not my granary. It's not my granary. I rent space. The Gemara says, come on. What's interesting about Gemara? So much of Gemara is like exaggerated cases that are contrived cases in order to make a point. Every once in a while, the Gemara kind of gets so frustrated with itself, right? That the cases are so like, the Gemara says, come on, ve'ichbel tana la'ashmo'inan gavra artiloi, the less velo klum. Is the Gemara coming to teach us about a guy who's naked? Literally, we'll say, he doesn't have a kli, he doesn't have karka, he doesn't, what's going on over here, right? He doesn't have anything. Gemara says, really, such a case like this, that you can't do chalipin, there's no kinyan agav, it doesn't make any sense. Ella lav shmamina, ein matbeya nikim b'chalipin shmamina. Rather, they're both saying, no. What you see over here is, the Gemara is teaching me that it's only this case that works, meaning chalipin would not work for money. You cannot use a king in Chalipin to go ahead and transfer ownership of money. That's what the Gemara is coming to teach me. So Rabbi says, therefore it turns out that even Rav Papa recanted his position. So Rabbi says, so once again, remember, just to follow what's happening over here. Rav Papa came along and said like this: even if you hold that you can't use money, a coin, as the mechanism, right, as the vehicle to affect Chalipin, but kinyan chalipin should work for the transfer of ownership of money. Or you should be able to use chalipin to transfer ownership of money. Now what the Gemara has essentially shown is that chalipin can't be used to transfer money either. Chalipin can only be used for objects, or movable property, but cannot be used for money. Now the Gemara says, Rav Papa hadirei. The truth is, even Rav Papa recanted his original position. Watch this. Kiyad Rav Papa havalo tracer alfei dinari bechozai. So let's listen to this. Rav Papa apparently had deposited a large amount of money, literally again 12,000 gold pieces, 12,000 dinars in Bechozai. Bechozai is a place. Now, here's the problem. So Rav Papa asked Rav Shmuel to go, and I guess Rav Shmuel was anyway traveling to Bechozai. So he asked Rav Shmuel, can you bring me back my money? We'll say, what's the problem? The guys in Bechozai were not willing to give it to Rav Shmuel. Why not? Understandably so. They were scared if something happened to the money on the way back to Rav Papa, the depositors in Bechozai, the custodians in Bechozai, would have still been on the hook. So they didn't want to release it. So what did Rav Papa do? Akninu Rav Shmuel Bar Acha Agav Aseifa de Beisei. So we'll say, so what did Rav Papa do? Rav Papa conveyed ownership of the money to Rav Shmuel. Now, obviously, this only works with someone who you trust. He conveyed ownership of the money through karka. So literally again through the threshold of his house. So what he did is he gave over ownership to Rav Shmuel of a piece of land, and then they did a kinyan agov. Remember again, what is kinyan agov? Kinyan agov means when you acquire karka, you could acquire metaltalin on the back of the karka, agov the karka. I will say, now remember again, we saw this back in our, I don't even know where we saw this the first time. It might have been Baba Kama, but it might have even been Ksulis earlier on. I will say the way kinyan agov works is, classic kinyan agov, I will say, you think about it, is the metaltalin is piled on top of the karka. Kinyan agov even works if the metaltalin is not on the karka. So in other words, it's just a concept that when you're acquiring real property, you could acquire movable property on the back of the real property, even if the movable property is not anywhere near the real property. So therefore, again, what Rav Papa did is, he conveyed ownership of a small piece of land to Rav Shmuel, and then again, conveyed ownership of the money to Rav Shmuel, agav the karka. So therefore, Rav Shmuel became the owner of the dinarim, and therefore the custodians in Beit Chozai were comfortable giving it to Rav Shmuel, because giving it to Rav Shmuel was giving it to the owner, and they were freed from any responsibility. Ki asa, when Rav Shmuel came back, nafik la'apei atavach. So Papa was so excited that literally again he ran out to greet him a very far distance, atavach. So obviously, Rav Papa had profound gratitude to Rav Shmuel for this, right? Why? Because Rav Shmuel took on awesome responsibility, right? Taking responsibility for 12,000 gold coins, doing a favor for a friend, is a pretty big deal, and therefore he had tremendous Hakarat Hatov. V'chein amar Ula. So too Ula said, "In ma pe'en aseh chalipin." Ula also agreed. Ula also agreed that Halacha l'maisa, that you can't acquire money through a kinyan chalipin. V'chein amar Ravasi in mat be'er naseh chalipin. Ravasi also said it. V'chein amar Rabbi Yochanan in mat be'er naseh chalipin. Okay, everybody's getting on the bandwagon over here. That halacha l'maisa again, you can't acquire money through a kinyan chalipin. Okay, se'esvei Rabbi Abba le'ula. So Rabbi Abba asked the question on ula. Haresh shahayu chamarav upol liv tov and also b'shuk. So let's now listen to this. So let's say I'm in the marketplace, and my workers, literally again, my donkey drivers and my workers are going ahead and claiming that they said that I owe them money for wages. They're coming to me in the marketplace. I don't have any money on me. So I say, V'amar l'shulchani, tein li b'dina ma'o. So I find the same. So I say, so we're right by a money changer. Good news. Money changer has available money. I say, Shulchani, listen, do me a favor. Advance me some money so I can pay my workers. V'ani ela lecha yafed dinar utrisis mimao sheyesh li bebesi. Okay, now we'll say, now watch this case. Watch this case. So I'm in the marketplace, right? Minding my own business. Workers come over to me. He didn't pay us. I say, you know what? You're right. I have to pay you. So there's a shulch. I don't have any money on me. There's a shulchani over there. I say to the shulchani, do me a favor. I owe a dinar, right? A dinar's worth of wages. Advance me the money, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay you back. Yafed dinar, so the amount of a dinar, utrisis. And I will say trisis is some additional amount, right? So I'll pay you back a dinar and trisis, right, from the money that I have in my house. I have money. Just not on me. So advance me the money, now I'll pay you back a dinar and trisis. The Gemara says, Im yesh lo ma'os mutar. If I really do have money at home, then this transaction is mutar. Ve'im lav aser. But if I don't have money at home, then the transaction is going to be aser. Okay, so we'll say, let's analyze this a little bit, because this doesn't sound right. So the Gemara says, so he'll say, now 1 second. If you tell me that this is working through chalipin, then fine. So we'll say, remember again, what's chalipin? Chalipin means then Reuven will give me the dinar, and we're doing an exchange. So he's acquiring the dinar. He's acquiring whatever money that I have in my house. Now, if it's chalipin, there's no ribis. There's no interest, because it's chalipin. It's not a loan. I want to point out something. The concept of interest only applies by a loan. So therefore, again, if I'm doing a kinyan chalipin with money, then again, it's not interest, and it's fine. Even though it turns out that he's giving me a dinar, and I'm giving him back a dinar plus a trisis, But again, because it's chalipin, it's not a problem. So therefore, if you hold that it's chalipin, then this transaction works. If this is a loan, then I both say, then what? It's ribis. It's interest. He's giving me a dinar and I'm giving back a dinar and a tresis. What do you see from here? Shabbos said, the fact that this works, what does that show you? What does that show you? That chalipin works by money. Contradiction to Ula. So the Gemara says, Ishtek. So Ula was quiet. Amarle, maybe, he said, maybe, Dilma idi v'idi beprutatos. I will say, by the way, it's interesting, because what do you see from here? Then I'm going to say, just to understand, this is Rabbi Abba's asking to Ula. He brings up the case to Ula, right? And ultimately, again, Ula's response is silence, and then Amarle, and then Ula responds afterwards. So I'll say, just point out something interesting, that sometimes in life, it's good to pause before you answer. Right? A lot of times, again, whether we're confronted with something or we're asked something, and we often feel like we have to respond immediately, there's absolutely nothing wrong with pausing. Just like there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying, I have to get back to you. There's nothing wrong with taking time to think before you respond. So, ishtik, amarle, dilma idi v'idi beprutatos. Shanu deleka aleativa. So, idi v'idi peirahavi umishim hachin niknu bechalibin. So, interesting, I will say. So listen to this. So he responds, maybe the case over here is not with money, but rather, again, I will say it's prutatos. Now, what are prutatos? Rashi says over here, it's kind of about, about 12 lines from the bottom, but prutatos, ma'os shal nechoshes, shenadayin below tzura, ke'ein asimon shal kesef. So these are copper, we'll say it's copper slugs. Right, copper slugs. So it's coins, but that have not been minted. There's no image on them. So maybe we're talking about over here like copper slugs. Now, both say, what's the status of a slug in general? Slug in general, it's metalklin, it's movable property. So maybe we're talking about over here when he says dinar, he's actually giving him a dinar. Rather, he's giving him an unminted coin, which has the status of metalklin. And therefore, I both say, so if it's metalklin, everyone agrees that what? Everyone agrees that what? That chalipin works. Remember again, I will say, the only machlokes over here is, does chalipin work for a coin? But everyone agrees that chalipin absolutely works for merchandise. He said, yeah, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Dekanami diktani. The truth is, you can even read this into the case. Yafet dinar utrisin, velo katani dinar yafar utrisin. So I'll say it's interesting. It's so fascinating how word placement makes such a difference. I'll say if the Gemara was talking about over here an actual dinar, it would have said dinar yafa, a valuable dinar. Yafet dinar means something that is as valuable as a dinar, but is not a dinar. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? Dinar yafa means a valuable dinar, an actual coin. Yafa dinar means something that is as valuable as a dinar, but is not a coin. It's incredible. Says Rabbi Shmuel, talking about over here a case of metal, but not even a case of money. Shema Mina. Ravashi says, Li'ola bedamim Obe prutatos. No, Ravashi says no. Let's go with Pasha Pshat. We're talking about money. The Shulchan gave me an actual dinar, and I'm giving him back a dinar and a tresis. But 1 second. But I will say, if you don't hold that money can be used as chalipin, why isn't this ribis? Watch this. The Gemara says, Kevan de Islay, since I have money in my house, Naaseh ke'omer, it's as if I said, Haleveini ad sheyavo b'nio ad she'emtza mafteach. So I will say, okay, two things. We're going to get to this because we're going to get to Perek Ezu Neshech, which is very exciting. Or everything you ever want to know about ribis, about interest. We're going to, I will say, that essentially, in order for a transaction to be considered interest, essentially you need two things. Well, you need more than two things, but two core things. Number one, it has to be a loan. Number two, there has to be what's called agar nata, which means there has to be a duration. There has to be a duration. In other words, I'll give you a simple example. If you give me $100 and I give you back immediately $120, that's not ribis. Now, again, that's a simplified. Why? Because we'll say part of the concept of ribis, of paying interest, is I don't have my money and I have to wait for you to give me back my money. That's called agar natra. I wait for the amount of time. We'll say in general, right? Why do people charge interest? Again, we'll say, what's the chap of interest? I'm like the only non-business guy here. I find out this. Right? I'll say, so again, the concept of interest is if I'm giving you $1,000 and I'm lending it to you for a month, that is a month I don't have that money. I could have invested it. I could have done something with it. The concept of interest says I'm willing to give you the money, but but I don't want to lose out on the fact that I could have invested and made money from it. So the concept of getting interest is because I don't have my money for a certain amount of time. Therefore, Rabbi was saying, when there's payment and then additional payment made in return with immediacy, it's not interest. Now, what is it? Well, we'll discuss. But I will say, so the way the Gemara phrases this is, for example, if I ask Ruvain for money, and I say, Ruvain, you know what, do me a favor, the money's in my house, I'm just waiting for my kid to bring it. Or the money's in my safe, I have to find my key, which means the money is here, I pretty much have almost instantaneous access to it. That is no longer a ribis case. Because the idea is Ruvain's going to give me money, I'm going to give him back something immediately, that's not interest. And therefore, we'll say, even if it turns out that he gives me $100 and I give him back $120, it's not interest. Because of the immediacy of it. Now, I'm oversimplifying it for our purposes for today. We'll get into it more. But we'll say, so therefore, again, the Gemara is suggesting over here that since in this case I'm telling the Shulchani, I have the money in my house, therefore, again, by definition, because there is no waiting period, therefore it's not interest. And therefore, if I end up even paying him back more than what he lent me, ultimately, it's not an interest case. Fascinating. So the Gemara goes weiter. Tashma. So let's go weiter. Say, what we are left with over here, so far, it sounds like the consensus opinion is you cannot acquire money through chalipin. That seems to be the consensus approach over here. So far, I'll say it sounds like, and again, we'll see this in greater depth in the Rambam tomorrow. I'm going to keep you coming back. So tomorrow, Meretz Hashem, I will say, but it sounds like so far that money cannot be used as the object to affect chalipin. That's one. And number two, money cannot be acquired through the mechanism of chalipin. Okay, let's go a little bit. That's what it sounds like so far. So Tashma, let's go weiter. So I will say, so now, this is actually a Mishnah in Kiddushin. Rashi points out over here, 3 lines up from the bottom. Kol anasa dam ba'acher, Mishnah b'Kiddushin, v'kasach hadayt chadachi kamar, kol aragil lios nitan damim ba'acher, dahanu matbea. So I will say, the way we think to read this Mishnah is as follows. Anything that is tendered in payment for something else, which usually means what? Money, right? So kol anasa dam ba'acher, kevan shezach hazeh, nischayiv zeh b'chalipin. So we'll say, so it sounds like anything that is given in payment for something else, once one party has acquired one object, the other party becomes obligated in the other object. So we'll say, what does this mean? Sounds like a coin. So we'll say what this sounds like over here is, if I'm selling Ruvain a watch, I'm selling him a watch for $500. So what it sounds like is, once Ruvain takes possession of the watch, then ultimately, again, I acquire the money. Which sounds like what? Chalipin. So it sounds like over here that Chalipin does work for money. To which the Gemara says, no, we'll say, Mem Bava on days, 46b. This is what it means. No. It means something totally different. Anything that is valuated, we'll see what this means in this moment. Once one party acquires one item, the other one becomes chayiv in the exchange. Okay, what is this talking about? Take a look at the top Rashi, 46b. Here we go. Color sharagilim lashum oso. Kishenostin osam damim ba'acher. Dahainu kala metaltalin imba adam lesitim damim bechefetz acher darkon shuman bekami yitnenalo. So I will say, so now watch this. Literally translated, we're going to see the case is going to illustrate the concept. But anything on both sides that is given in a valued exchange for something else, once one party acquires one of the objects, the other party acquires the other object. I know you're thinking that makes absolutely no sense. Watch. How can I mistabra? So I'm going to illustrate the case. Look at the end of the Raisa. Here we go. Ketzad. Hechlef shar bechamar, o chamar b'shar, shmamina. So we'll say now watch this. The Gemara says, what's the case? Any item that is given, right, in exchange for another. And I will say now b'pashtos, when items are given in exchange for one another, so we'll say, what is the exchange based on? B'pashtos, it's based on similar values. Right? That's what we're assuming. Right? So therefore again, hechlef shar b'para. So we'll say, so let's say again, I'm engaging in a transaction with Ruvain. I have a shar, I have an ox, and he has a cow. And what I will say, so B'Pashtus, what are we going to do? We're going to make an exchange. So remember again, obviously, when we think about this, like, why is it getting so complicated? I'll give him the shor, he'll give me the para. What's the big deal over here? So remember again, where do these kinds of situations come up? Let's say again, both animals are not here. So let's say again, I have the shor, but Ruvain's para is in New Jersey. So what's the halacha? Because these items are being exchanged, therefore this is a kinyan chalipin. So therefore, what happens? As soon as Ruvain takes possession of the shor, they will say, what's the halacha? What's the halacha? I acquire the para wherever it is. That's kinyan chalipin. Shmamina. So we'll say, so therefore again, what do you see from here? We're not talking about money. Rather, again, we're talking about chalipin. Ulamai disalik adaita me karamabeya. So we'll say, so now listen to this. But the havamina is that we thought we were talking about money. So we'll say, here's the problem, right? I thought we were talking about money being acquired through chalipin. The problem is, how could that have ever been the havamina, given what? Given the illustration of the case, right? The illustration of the case mentioned by the Brisa was ashar bechamar. We exchanged an ox for a cow. So I don't say if that's the way that the Brisa is illustrating the principle. Why would you have ever thought that it's talking about money? So I say, now watch this. This is really fascinating. So according to the approach that we thought about before, that we're talking about a coin, that we're talking about exchanging money through chalipin. So my case, so we'll say, so how does the illustration of the shar bechamar somehow support that assertion? Watch this. So we'll say, it's actually really interesting. Hachi kamar uperi nami avdi chalipin. So we'll say you could also use peros, right? Peros merchandise or peros could actually also be acquired through chalipin. Okay, so what's the example of this? Hechlif shar bepara, o chamar b'shar. So we'll say ultimately again, for example, if you went ahead and you exchanged the shar by a para or a chamar b'shar. Now we'll say, now what is this? So the Gemara says, Hani chal Rav Sheshes, the Amar Peri Avdi Chalipin. So this makes sense according to Rav Sheshes, who holds that peros in general ultimately can be exchanged through chalipin. So we'll say we're going to see this all more tomorrow. El Rav Nachman, the Amar Kli in Aval Peri lo Avdi Chalipin, my Ketzad. So we'll say we are going to see in tomorrow's daf that Rav Nachman is of the opinion that the only way to affect chalipin is through a kli. In other words, we'll say that what this means is the mechanism for chalipin, right? Because we'll say when we come to chalipin, there's two aspects of the kain of chalipin. What are the two aspects? There's number one, the item used to affect chalipin. Right? Remember again, in order for a chalipin, kinyan chalipin to take place, what has to happen? What do you need? Something. In other words, I need an object. And somebody has to acquire something in order to trigger the reciprocal kinyan. There's a fundamental machlokes as to what is that item. What is that item? So again, I will say, and that's, remember, is it a coin? Rav Nachman holds, is interesting, it has to be a kli. Again, I know, I keep saying it tomorrow. Just hold on. Just hold on. Keep it together till 5:50 tomorrow morning, and life is going to make sense. Right? The entire universe is going to be in equilibrium with Bava Metzia Daf Mem Zayin. Rabbi Akiva holds it has to be a kli, it has to be a utensil. Now again, I will say that's discussion number one. Then after that, there's a secondary discussion, which is what type of items could be acquired through chalipin. You hear the distinction? There's what type of item could affect chalipin, and then after that, there's what types of items could be acquired through chalipin. So listen to this. So Rav Nachman is of the opinion that Allah l'maisi need a kli. Now both say, if you need a kli, the Amar kli in aval perilo avdi chalipin my ketzet. So I just want to point out something incredible. We just read this case of the shar and the para, right? According to Rav Nachman, that case doesn't work. In other words, let's just go through this. Right? I'm standing with Ruvain. Ruvain, I have an ox, you have a cow. You want an ox, I want the cow. Fantastic. I'm going to give you my ox. You go ahead, do mashiach on my ox. Kinyan sudar, kinyan chalipin. I'll acquire your cow. According to Rav Nachman, that does not work. Why? Because according to Rav Nachman, you need a kli, you need a utensil in order to affect kinyan chalipin. Well, an ox is not a utensil. A cow is not the utensil. So according to Rav Nachman, how is this case even working? So watch this, Rabbi say. My case, yesh damim shehen kechalipin. There are sometimes value that is like chalipin. What does this mean? Sometimes money that's like chalipin. What does this mean? Ketzad hechlif demei shar bepara o demei chamar b'shar. So Rabbi say, now listen to this. For example, what? Let's say you exchanged the value of the para for the shar, or the value of the shar for the para. Now, what does this mean? So take a look at Rashi. This is actually a really interesting case. Rashi is, like right in the middle of the short lines. Watch this. Machar lo shar, v'kach v'kach mos, u'mashach hasashar. Okay, so we'll say, we're switching gears here just a moment. I sell Ruvain a shar. Okay? It's a shar, an ox, $1,000. It's just a regular sale case. Regular sale case. I sell Ruvain an ox. Okay? Now we'll say, now remember again, how do you acquire an ox? Mashicha. Right? So what does Ruvain do? Ruvain takes the ox, he pulls it towards him. Shalom Yisrael. Fantastic. Now we'll say, now obviously when Ruvain does Mashicha, what happens in that moment? V'nischayiv lo hamos. Now obviously Ruvain's obligated to me $1,000. Value of the ox, right? So Reuven takes possession of the ox, he does Mashicha, it pulls it towards him, now he owes me $1,000. Okay, fine. So now Reuven comes along and he says to me like this, he says, Silber, listen, happens to be, I have a cow that's worth $1,000. Would you like my cow as payment for your ox? And I say, V'nei also yachad, the kibel alav, and I say, sure. Yeah, that was not intentional. Right? I say yes. Right? I'm happy to accept, in other words, I'm happy to accept that par. First of all, more embarrassing than I said is that you laughed at it, right? So I say yes, and then ultimately, I guess, so now Reuven's going to give me his cow as, again, I want to point out, as payment for the ox. He owes me $1,000. Instead of $1,000, he's giving me a cow worth $1,000. Now watch this. Rashi goes on. Now at that point, once we have agreed on this, neither of us can renege. Which essentially means I've acquired the para. Now watch this. Vachi kamar. Kalanishum damim ba'acher. Kalamatavlin sha'adam sham lechavero. V'nosin lo shumas tamein. Bishvil chefetz acher. Shahayu lo lokeach. Kevan shezach lo lokeach. Rishon metaltalin. Harishon shemashkan. So we'll say, so now what is the Brayso? This is incredible. So we'll say, so therefore it turns out that when Ruvain acquired the shar, I essentially acquired the cow. Now, what's happening over here is Reuven acquired the shar through a sale. Now, what happens? Now, halacha l'maisa, I'm going to acquire the cow as payment for the ox. So, what the Bryce is teaching me is Reuven's kinyan on the shar essentially acquires for me the cow that was valued at the amount that Reuven owes me for the purchase of the ox. Okay, so let's finish Rashi. And therefore, at this point, Rabbi Osai, once we agree on this, neither of us have the ability to renege. Ve'in echad behem yachal lach. So Rachi Kamar, this is what it means to say, Kalanishum damim ba'acher. Anything that is literally valued against something else, which means, Kalamataltlin sha'adam sham lechavero, v'nosin lo shumas damein, all movable property that a person valuates as payment for an existing debt, b'shel chayfetz acher shayu lo lokeach. As soon as Reuven acquires the ox, shemashchan b'afilu b'toras damim, amnas lahaknos lo chayfetz shel b'damim, nischayiv zeh lokeach sheni b'chol onsiach halipin. Silber said this is an interesting case. So therefore, it turns out that even though Reuven acquired the ox, right, before, now we'll say, remember, at the moment that Reuven acquired the ox, was there any talk about a cow? No talk about a cow. But now that Reuven owes me $1,000, now Reuven suggests, let me give you my cow, which is worth $1,000 in lieu of actual cash payment. And I say yes. Then I both say, it turns out that what? Ex post facto, the kinyan that Reuven did on the ox ultimately, again, acquired for me that cow. That's the case. Interesting. My time with Rav Nachman. So we'll say, what's Rav Nachman's logic? Savar, Rabbi Yochanan. He also Rabbi Yochanan. So we'll say, now remember again. Now the Gemara says as follows. Now, so Rav Nachman holds, Rabbi say that Allah L'maisa this type of king will work. Now, why does Rav Nachman hold? So Rabbi say this Gemara that we're about to do is central and core to so much of what we're going to accomplish. We'll say If you remember again, we started this Mishnah with the idea that money does not acquire, right? Which I will say, it is so counterintuitive to us, right? In other words, here, I'm purchasing something, right? I go over to it, I give him the money. So we've now established, I will say, that halacha l'maisa, money doesn't acquire, right? When do you acquire the object? Either when you take physical possession or some other type of kinyan, but tendering of money by itself does not acquire the object, which sounds so strange. Now here we go, I will say. So here we go. The Gemara says, Sarala, so my time what's Rav Nachman's logic? So look at Rabbi Yochanan Damar, Dvar Torah, Ma'os Konos. It's not true. Midoraisa, money acquires. Now, where do we know that from? You know the answer to this. Where are we going to see this? Daf Mem Zayin tomorrow, right? I'll say everything. And any other outstanding questions you have in life. What's the purpose of life? Why do bad things happen to good people? All of that is going to be Daf Mem Zayin, I will say, right? It's everything. So I'll say, so now, what do you mean Dvar Torah Ma'os Konos? How do I know that? But okay, right now we're just taking this fact. Dvar Torah Ma'os Konos. Midoraisa, we'll say you acquire an object with money. So I'll say, so if that's true, that Midoraisa, when you tender payment for something, you are the rightful owner. Yet Chazal stepped in and Chazal said, no, you don't acquire an object until you actually do Mashiach. Why? Here we go. Chazal were concerned about a case where, let's say, your friend says to you, oh, I'm so sorry, your produce burned down in the silo. Okay, a little bit of context. I go over to Reuven. I buy from Reuven $1,000 worth of wheat. I give him the money. So Rabbi says, so now, if we go with the Doraisa, the Doraisa says that ultimately, again, when you give money, so now the object becomes yours. If we go with that, here's the concern. That means now, I own the produce. My produce is sitting in Reuven's silo. Okay, so it's mine because I give him money. Let's say Chas V'Shalom, a fire breaks out of Reuven's silo, and Reuven suffers a loss of $1,000 of wheat. Right? What is Reuven going to say? What is he going to say? Oh, so sorry for your loss. Yeah, that was your $1,000 of wheat. So we'll say, so Chazal were concerned about that if I am the titular owner, right? But my possessions, thank you. Right? But my possessions, thank you, my property is in Reuven's possession, then it's going just to set up the situation where any loss that Reuven suffers is going to be attributed to my produce. So Chazal say, you know what we're going to do? We're saying differently. Even though I paid Reuven the money, it's not mine until I get physical possession. Which means I will say, now what does that do? That shifts responsibility of the entirety of the produce to Reuven until delivery to me. That's what it does. And it's essentially what it does is it's buyer protection. It's buyer protection. Incredible. So when did Chazal, so the Gemara says like this, Milsa de Shricha Gazi Be'Rabbanan. Chazal only enacted this in a common case. Milsa de lo Shricha lo Gazi Be'Rabbanan. But ultimately it was in an uncommon case. Now what's an example of an uncommon case? An uncommon case, I will say, is the case we just said before, where ultimately, again, I'm selling, right, my ox to Reuven. Reuven owes me $1,000, and now what happens? Now Reuven says to me, you know what happened to have a cow? That's worth $1,000. Why don't I give that to you? So we'll say, so that's an uncommon type of case, and in that case, ultimately, again, I could acquire the movable property, even though, again, it's not coming to my possession. Okay. And according to Reish Lakish, who holds that no, it's not true. Mid-da'araisa money does not acquire. Mid-da'araisa, the only thing that acquires is what? The only thing that acquires is Mashiach. So Hanicha is Savala Karav Sheshas, Mentas like Karav Sheshas. If you don't take Karav Sheshas, I'll interpret the case of Karav Sheshas. Ela is Savala Karav Nachman, and Da'amar Peri lo Avdi Chalipin. Umakbea lo Kani, Hechi Mitarisla. But if you don't take Karav Nachman, who holds that Allah Lamaisa, in general, you cannot affect Chalipin with Peros. And Matbea lo Kani, what should you do? Al Karchach, Kirav Sheshas Mitarisla. You'll have to say ultimately again that he interprets it like Rav Sheshas. Okay, let's go back to Tanan. Kol Metalklin, Konan, and Zeh. So we'll say all Metalklin have the ability to acquire one another. Okay? So the Gemara says, Kol Metalklin, Konan, Zeh. Hamish Lakish, Afilu Kis Male Mos. So we'll say, so ultimately again, this applies to even what? This applies even to a bag full of money. A bag full of money. Shabbos says, so now watch this. Raki Rashi, just a moment. Kis Malemos, it's 6 lines up from the bottom. V'al karchach, bechalipin kamar, tibetoras damim ma'os lo kanush, ma'vidam matbe'er naseh chalipin, v'nikne bechalipin. So we'll say, so now remember again, b'pashtos, we're assuming over here that this Mishnah, kal metaltalin konin zeh, we assume this is by chalipin. Right? You and I, we want to exchange metaltalin, so I give you metaltalin, you acquire it, I automatically acquire, flip active acquisition, I automatically acquire the other piece of metaltalin. Now, we'll say that the Gemara says, or the Mishnah says, even with a kis malei mos, even with a bag full of money. So what do I interpret that to mean? That money could be acquired through metaltalin, to which the Gemara says, va'afilu kis malei mos, to which the Gemara says, no, va'afilu, bikis malei mos. So the Gemara says, ultimately, again, we're talking, va'afilu bikis malei mos, Ravacha bedinar anka va'anigra. So the Gemara says, what does this mean? We're talking about a different kind of coinage. What type of coins are we talking about? A dinar anka and a nigra. What does this mean? Echad shepaslaso malchus ve'echad shepasalto medina. So we're talking about coins that essentially were invalidated. One coin was invalidated by the monarchy, and the other coin was invalidated by the country. Now, what's the chap what is the status of currency when essentially becomes invalidated for use? What's its status? What's status? Metaltalin. Because also remember again, so currency of the Gemara, remember we'll say their currency was actually made of precious metals. So therefore again, same way that an unminted coin essentially has the status of metaltalin, so even a minted coin, but a minted coin that no longer is valid for use, halacha l'maisa, has the status of metaltalin. So the Gemara says that's what we're talking about over here. When we speak about that again, that halacha l'maisa, you could acquire a bag of money with chalipin. That's a bag of coins that's either been invalidated by use by the king or been invalidated by the use by the country. I'd ask the Gemara, so we'll say, so now I don't understand, why do you need both? Invalidated by the monarchy or invalidated by the country? In other words, you told me, I got it. Invalidated currency, whether it's by the monarchy or whether it's by the country, is going to have the status of metaltalin. The Gemara says, no, you need both. I'll tell you why. Tzricha. Both sides finish up with tzricha. Diashmo in pasalto malchus. Because it was safe halacha l'maisa, if you would have only taught me about currency that was invalidated by the monarchy, mishum delo sagi klal. So we'll say the problem is once currency has been invalidated by the monarchy, then what? You really can't use it anywhere, right? Anywhere, because the entire monarchy doesn't use it. Aval pasalto medina the sagili b'medina achrisi im akati matbeyahu. But I both say, but currency that's only been invalidated where? In this country, right, or in this province, it's still what? Potentially usable somewhere else. Therefore, maybe it still has the status of money. So the Gemara says, and if you were to just learn about the case of where the particular country or province invalidated it, mishum lo sagi lo b'tzina v'lo b'farhasya. So we'll say it's interesting. When a particular currency is no longer usable in a particular area, a particular country, you can't use it on the regular market or on the black market. Ava pasalto malchus, this sagile b'tzina. It's interesting. Apparently, currency that has been invalidated by the monarchy, you can't use it in regular commerce, but apparently there was still a black market for it. Ema akati matbeahu. I would have thought that it still has the status, ultimately, again, of a coin. And therefore, a coin you can't be used with chalipin, therefore, tzricha. So if Rabbi say again, I needed both cases to teach you that halacha l'maisa, both a coin invalidated by the monarchy, as well as a coin invalidated by the province, is no longer considered to be currency, but rather is considered to be metaltalin. So Rabbi say, okay, what are our takeaways over here? So Rabbi say, so first of all, just a couple of smaller ones. Number one, we're getting already like a little bit of an appetizer for ribbis, which is everyone loves appetizers, right? Because what do? They whet your appetite a little bit, you're excited for what's to come. So now again, we got a little ribbis appetizer over here. What's my ribbis appetizer? So first I'm going to say, number one, interest only applies in a loan. That's number one. So interest will never apply in chalipin. I suggest even again where and all these things tie together, because if you hold that money could be you could affect the exchange of money by chalipin. If I were to give you $100, you were to give me back $120, technically that would not be ribis. Right? So ribis is only by a loan, and number two, ribis is only by a loan that what? Has a duration, a waiting period. So even for example, let's say if you were to take an extreme case of, I say, loan me $100, and I'm going to give you right back $150. We'll both say, is that ribis? Is that ribis? As far as we're concerned right now, the answer to that is no. And we'll say, you'll say to yourself, why would someone ever do something like that? It's very simple. There's a mitzvah d'oraisa to pay back your debts. I'm coming up a little short on the mitzvah counter today. So you know what? I want to give you a gift anyway. So give me $100, I'll give you back $150. Technically speaking, that's not ribis. So ribis requires, ultimately, again, a loan and a duration. Fine. I will say the two outstanding issues that we've been dealing with over the last 2 days are still the two outstanding issues. Number one, I will say, is can you affect chalipin using a coin as the vehicle for the kinyan? So again, instead of my pen, right, I want to go ahead and acquire something from you. So normally, I'm going to acquire your chametz from you in just a few moments. I'm going to give you my pen. You lift up my pen. You acquire something of mine. I acquire something of yours. Your chametz, perfect. Can I use a coin for that? Can I use a coin to affect chalipin? So I will say, the Parashos, it sounds like from the Gemara that the answer to that is no. We'll see the Rambam tomorrow in Eretz Hashem. Question number 2 is, okay, even if I accept the fact that a coin cannot be used as the vehicle for chalipin, but can you acquire money through chalipin? So in other words, I will say, I want to go ahead and acquire, you want to give me $100. So can I go ahead and acquire money through somebody? I'm going to give you my pen. So now you lift it up. Can I acquire money through chalipin? So I will say once again that also sounds like no, but Eretz Hashem resolution tomorrow. One last thing. Good. So all right, when I'm there now, so all right, can you use money as a vehicle? Can you acquire chalipin? I will say, Eretz Hashem, all of this to be resolved tomorrow. I will say, I know that it seems very frustrating that I'm pushing everything to Daf Mem Zayin. I will say, but again, sometimes it's a good muster in life also. The answers to all of life's questions come. Just sometimes you have to be patient to get them. So sometimes it's as easy as tomorrow morning. Other times it's waiting until after 120 when we're in Shamayim and we can ask Hakadosh Baruch Hu whatever we want. The answers always come. We just have to be patient until we get them. Let's say, Shkoyach. We're going to be doing, anyone who's here from Mechiras Chametz, we're just going to be relocating into the base Medrash Eretz Hashem. Just clear out for the 9 o'clock meetings. Shkoyach, everyone.